Welcome in. It is day 165, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And today we're going to be going over a game that I was just in the itchiness to go buy something one day. My wife and I were out in the city, and I went to a local board game store that I was a big fan of, and I just wanted to get something. I didn't know what, I just wanted something. So I found this small game that I don't know what that is, but it seems different. And I picked it up, and it was actually not bad. I don't get to play it very often, but it's a game that I was surprised at how good it was because I never heard of it before. The game is called Hafid's Grand Bazaar. Now, the concept of the game is that you have 5 different color cards, and within those cards, they each have 5 different possible resource type cards to get. In each of those cards, each one's worth so many talent, and there's so many of the card. So you're going to basically, whenever you have cards in your hand, show the color on the back so people will know if you're collecting a food card or if you're collecting a card that has more to do with jewelry or something like that. But then there's the bazaar. So the bazaar is going to be these 6 different spaces for Greece and for Egypt and for Rome. And each of those spaces will randomly be dealt 2 cards that you will see the color of. Then you will have the draw pile of cards, and then you have all the places to bid on. You're going to have these 6 cubes that you're given, and one by one going around the board, everybody's going to be bidding a cube to different locations. Now you can bid more than 1 cube. So if you want a specific spot, the spot might be, okay, this one's going to allow me to go and do free trading. Well, you can bid 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you want to bid on it. Once everybody's put all their cubes out, starting with the first one, you're going to start to resolve these. Now, by having a cube there, it means you can do the action, but by having the most cubes there, it's going to give you a bonus when you do the action. And these are going to give you all sorts of interesting type of setups for the game. They're going to let you get into the market and be able to purchase cards. They're going to be able to take from the top of the deck. They're going to allow for you to trade with your competitors. And the idea is that you're going to do this for a certain amount of rounds. In a 2-player game, it's 4 rounds, but otherwise, if it's 3 to 6 players, however many players there are, that's how many rounds there are. You want to make sure each player gets to be the first player once. So you're going to play through this. You're going to be trying to slowly trade cards, purchase cards, do whatever you need to do, and you're going to be trying to collect certain types of cards for certain talent levels. Talent is what determines the winner. So when you get to the end of the game, somebody might be watching you going like, man, they're really after the food, but you have no idea what food you're collecting. So while I may have, say, 20 cards, maybe my 20 cards are all really bad talent, whereas somebody else might only have 5 or 6 cards, but might be close to my score because they're all high-level talent. You only get a clue based on the fact that you know the color of their cards. You don't know necessarily what they have. So it's a lot of information to be trying to put together in your head, follow, figure out, who am I trying to prevent getting certain style of cards from. It's a fun game. I do think that there's a lot. It's small, and yet there's so much to do. I think the rule book is fine. It explains it well. But there's a difference between a well-written rule book and a lot of mechanics. This one really does have a lot of mechanics. It's one where I was trying to learn the game again before doing this. I hadn't played in a little while. So I was like, let me do a reminder read and just make sure I know what I'm talking about. And I got a gist for it, but I was definitely just a little lost at times where I was like, wow, I understand everything they're saying, but there's like a bidding round, and there's a market, and there's 6 different things in the bidding round that then affects the market. And then there's 5 different style cards, but each style card has 5 different types of things within the card, and each thing within the card has different styles of its points and how many total of that card there is. There was so much, not in a bad way, just in a way where I think this is a game that when you learn it, you need to play it a lot, because you could definitely forget what you're doing and have to relearn from scratch if you haven't played this game in a month, even in a week maybe. So I think this needs to be played a bunch to get it down. And once you really know what you're doing and you feel like you've played this enough, maybe then you could take a little bit more time away from it. But in my opinion, that's kind of how it feels. There's enough going on. You really got to play a lot. But why don't we back up from having to try to master the game and just jump into the 7 categories and see where this game really ranks for me. So when it comes to the art, Like I said, I bought this game on a whim. I had never heard of it. I was just in a store, I was looking around, I was trying to find something, and one of the two things that grabbed my attention was the box art. I was like, oh, what's that? A Grand Bazaar, cool name. The box cover is intriguing to me. I opened it up when I got home. I put it out. I really liked the design. I thought it was great art. It's a thumbs up. The components are good. I've talked about before there being kind of lower card stocks, and I feel like this is one that falls a little bit out of that first place area, but not too far. It's not one that I'm worried about wearing. It's not one I'm really worried about tearing. I just acknowledge that this is definitely slightly lower card stock than the average deck of cards. That being said, I think they do a really good job in supplying a lot of pieces here that are of good quality. It's a thumbs up. When it comes to that price, there's twofold here. The first is availability. Now, I don't think you're ever going to see this in a Barnes & Noble or a Target, but you are going to find it in a couple stores, maybe 1 or 2 out of 5 on average. It's not a massively popular game, but it's out there, and it's had good reviews. So I think it's available, just a lot less than most games. But the price itself was the other reason I picked it up. When I went that day and I was looking for games, I really wanted to get something, and I didn't want to just drop a huge amount of money on a game that I wasn't sure about. But I saw this one for like $30, and I was like, 30's not bad, and it looks interesting. I'll risk it. And I think it was worthwhile for 30, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up for that. Your difficulty. Now, I said this before, the rule book isn't bad, but there are a lot of rules. So I think that the difficulty with this game is getting down those rules 100%. There's so much going on, and I think the average player, your first or second game, you're not going to completely understand what's going on. It's going to take a few games to really understand it, and you're going to probably need to play this a bunch in a contained amount of time, or else every time you go in, you're going to be starting from scratch and learning it again from scratch, which is always frustrating. I think that it is a good game, and I think that it is definitely one that is very good for your experienced beginner players, and even your experts can appreciate it, but I don't think this is really for them. I think that your beginners, it's not a bad game. It just, if this is a game that a beginner is going to play, this needs to be in a small starting collection for you to like really master. Because if you're a beginner and either you don't own it, you're just playing it at a friend's house, or you do own it, but you've kind of gone all in and you're like, I'm a beginner, but I got like 30 games. It's too many. A beginner needs this to be one of like their 5, maybe to 10 games. Let them really have this be a mastered game. And if you can do that, it'll be great. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it's definitely one that it's a little risky. For the record, I wouldn't put this in the kids category. I think it's too complicated for a kid. Your replayability. So there is replayability here. I don't think this is often going to be a back-to-back replay. I think this is more likely a game that you're going to just play it on the weekends, and you'll say like, yeah, me and my family or me and my friends play this on like Friday nights or Saturdays. And you do that like maybe for a month, you do it for like 4 weeks in a row. Or maybe it's that, hey, we get together and we do like a movie on like Saturdays once a month, and we pull this game out after the movie and we play it together. I think that's where its replayability comes in. But in general, I don't think for the average experienced and expert player, this is one that's going to get replayed very often, and it's not one for kids. So I don't think there's enough there for that one group to really maintain replayability. So I'm going to give it a thumbs down. Keys to victory. So there are keys to victory, and that is the 6 things you're bidding on. That's what lets you choose your destiny in the game. And there's nothing that's particularly better or worse than the others. I mean, there's such a luck factor because you might be specifically targeting, okay, I want food because I know that I've got a bunch of high level cards in these areas and not in food. So the food is where it's more likely to be better points. But the next game, that could be totally different, or you could have totally different cards and not have as good of a view on what's available. So it's constantly shifting, which is exactly what really you need to have in order for the keys to victory to be successful. It's a thumbs up. Is it unique? You know, it's a bidding game, and everybody can bid everywhere, and the highest bid's going to get more ability to do stuff. You're trying to gather cards, the cards pay out points. I don't know. I feel like I've seen this before. And while the game I'm thinking of is not a great comparison, it is a comparison, and that would be Revolution. I feel like in Revolution, you're bidding, and that's hidden bidding compared to this is face up bidding. But you're bidding all in the same spots, and instead of it being the result of you being able to go in and grab cards, it's going to be the result of you getting to go place people and get money. It feels like most bidding games that have some kind of a joint market like this can kind of be compared. And for me, this one just isn't unique enough from that group. Again, I can't name others, but I know I've played other bidding games through the years that definitely a little bit more close to this. I just don't feel it stands out well enough. As much as it's a good game, I feel that you're going to have lots of bidding games that you're going to go, I only really want one of these. And when you only want one of them, it's not unique. It means you have an option. So, thumbs down on that. Overall, what do I think? I do think it's a well-designed game. I think it's a game that's fun. I just don't think it's a game that you have to own. I'm happy I picked it up. I think it was a great experience to pick it up and try it out, and it is fun. I just think that it's not often going to get played, and when I want to play a bidding game, I do think I'm going to pick Revolution over this every time. I prefer more of a game to my bidding than to bidding kind of being really the whole game. But that's just my opinion. Maybe you're really into bidding games and this would hit huge for you, or maybe you just don't like this particular type of theme. Whatever hits or doesn't hit for you is totally fine. That's up to you for you to figure out the right game for you and for your collection and for your group of friends. Well, it has been day 165, and we've been speaking about Hafid's Grand Bazaars. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.